International Day for People of African Descent is critically important, I think. We celebrate many things. We recognize many minorities and great achievers. Surely there can't be many greater than that of people of African descent. This is something that is observed every year on the 31st of August. And is something that perhaps slips through the gaps. But if I look through and see that it is through this observance that the United Nations aims to promote the extraordinary contributions of the African diaspora around the world and eliminate all forms of discrimination against people of African descent. I think that is massive. And that is from the United Nations itself. And we need to recognize that. The 31st of August is that day. Indeed, when I was looking into it and feeling proud as both a human, as an African, I was fascinated to learn that the first people of African descent, people from Africa, who came to Britain, arrived in the 2nd and 3rd centuries after Christ. That's a long way ago, long time ago. And they rebuilt and stationed along the Hadrian's Wall that separates England from Scotland. And indeed, what few people realize is that they were under the rule of Septimus Severus, who was a black Roman emperor based in York, England. I just make this out because the history is huge. We can talk about greatness over the years, and we can refer to Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, Barack Obama, Rosa Parks. We can come closer to home and talk about the greatness of Kwame Nkrumah or Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X. We can even go further and talk about the Kofi Annans or sports personalities, the Pelés, the Bob Marleys, the musicians, etc. It doesn't stop. The fact of the matter is that people of African descent have created greatness, and our sportsmen bring it. When I look at the last World Cup in rugby and the magnificent Kolisi from South Africa, the captain, and Tendai, the beast, you just have to meet them to understand their humanity, their humility, not to mention the excellence that you see on the park. And that makes us all proud. And it should make us all proud. It doesn't matter your background or your heritage. I just say that this day is a day that should be remembered. I sit as the president of Rugby Africa, seeking equity, respect, recognition, and ultimately greater investment into our sport so that we can, as a point of humanity, improve nutrition, Medicare, and the investments that are required through competitions to give us greater equity in the world. The history of who we're about is massive. The earliest fossils of humanity are African. The Eve gene is African. And to think that there were more than 10,000 tribes and people before colonialism set across Africa, that is absolutely massive. I just encourage everybody to join us on the 31st of August in recognizing the significance of the African, the significance of people of African descent, and say, let's support this as we look in our quest for greater equity for all of us on the continent. Rugby is an extraordinary game. Rugby is a game which we can seek to bring greater unity between ourselves, which transcends race and transcends everything else. We just see it across. The Africans who are playing of African descent, who are now playing for virtually most of the major nations, the significant ones. The world record holders are from South Africa. Those who are great as well, who we see playing for France today, for Britain as for England at the same time. It is an extraordinary contribution that people of African descent make to global sports, to music, to athleticism, to everything else. We in rugby endorse it, encourage it, and we ask for that recognition at the same time that ultimately will give greater equity.